Okay, John, can you guys hear me through the conference call line for Kelly?
Kelly is just getting in on the line. Lynette, just a second.
To mute your line, press.
Yep, I can hear you. Okay. I think we're good to go. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody on the conference call line. Okay. Good afternoon. We'll go ahead and get started. My name is Lynette Osner. I'm a child nutrition consultant for the school team. This afternoon, we are going to be conducting the online applications webinar for school year 18-19. Our purpose today is to cover the requirements and responsibilities of using an online application for child nutrition program benefits. By the end of this webinar, you will have the tools to understand the requirements of online applications, ask software vendors to ensure compliance with state and federal regulations, test for proper functionality of your online application, and to ensure confidentiality. Our agenda today will be to discuss confidentiality, the required fields of the online application, determining eligibility, administrative review implications related to the online applications, and how to complete the online application review process with the Child Nutrition and Wellness team at KSDE. Any sponsor wishing to use an online application for child nutrition program benefits must accept full responsibility for the software chosen. USDA Policy Memo SP 12-2006 is clear that, pursuant to federal law, each sponsor is responsible for proper program management, accurate income eligibility applications and claims, maintenance of confidential information in a secure manner, and ensuring that computer and software programs function properly. It also states that each sponsor is responsible for guaranteeing the accuracy of any electronic application technology, which includes electronic signatures, and of its claims for reimbursement, as well as for ensuring that free and reduced price eligibility information remains confidential. What this policy means is that it is the sponsor's responsibility to ensure that the system is following all state and federal regulations. It is not the responsibility of the software vendor. At the end of the day, it is the sponsor who will be liable if the system is not meeting requirements. As with paper applications, record retention requirements apply. All free and reduced price applications, including applications from households determined ineligible for benefits, must be kept on file for a minimum of 3 years after the final claim is submitted for the fiscal year to which they pertain. When selecting an online application system, sponsors are responsible for ensuring that records are accessible as needed, even if switching software vendors. Some questions you may... I think we are off a slide. Hang on one second here. Some questions you may want to ask your software vendors is how they ensure that the sponsor will maintain access to the applications even if the software agreement is terminated or not renewed. Maintaining confidentiality of free and reduced eligibility information must be of the utmost importance to all sponsors of child nutrition programs. This is also true when applications are available online. Sponsors are responsible for ensuring that vendors understand confidentiality requirements and should test systems periodically to make sure that confidentiality features within the software are activated and functioning properly. As a reminder, improper disclosure of participant information may result in a fine of up to $1,000 or imprisonment of up to 1 year or both. Even if the software system is improperly disclosing information, it is the sponsor who is liable. It is very important to understand how the participant's confidential information is protected by the system and to test the system to ensure that it is operating correctly. A commonly asked question is if a sponsor contracts with a third-party server to store electronic applications, do confidentiality and disclosure requirements still apply? The answer would be yes. Confidentiality and disclosure requirements surrounding the school meal applications apply regardless of the application type. The information must be protected and only viewed and/or released according to guidelines. Sponsors that contract with a third party must have an agreement in place that clearly delineates F&S requirements for eligibility or for confidentiality, and that comes straight out of the eligibility manual for school meals. Regardless of how a family qualifies for program benefits, the sponsor must obtain informed consent before providing eligibility information to the district for additional benefits. Oftentimes we see additional benefits such as textbook fees, activity fees, or sports fees. Remember that it is the sponsor's legal duty to ensure that the system is not disclosing confidential information, and improper disclosure may result in a fine of up to $1,000 or up to 1 year of prison time or both. Since individuals from the sponsor can face fines and imprisonment for improper disclosure of information, it is important to ask detailed questions regarding how the computer system handles confidential information. A few questions that could be asked include how the system ensures that program benefits are kept confidential, what settings are built into the system to allow for sharing of eligibility information when appropriate, how can I be sure no one can find a student's free or reduced status within the system, and how does the system know who gets waived fees and who doesn't? It is recommended that not only should the sponsor ask questions such as these, but the sponsor should also periodically check the system to ensure that proper confidentiality is maintained. Page 81 of the USDA Eligibility Manual for School Meals states that electronic applications must contain the information required of all applications. Next, we will look at what is required for an application, what is optional, and what cannot be on an application. All applications, both paper and electronic, must contain the use of information statement. In Kansas, federal program language regarding the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as SNAP, and the temporary assistance for needy families must be replaced with the Kansas language. For SNAP, the use of information statement should use the term food assistance with the abbreviation of FA. And for temporary assistance for needy families, the use of information statement should use the term temporary assistance per family with the abbreviation of TAF. And on the slide, we give you the full use of information statement. And we will post handouts of the slides either here shortly or at the end of the presentation. Questions that you could ask your software vendors: does the online application include a use of information statement? And how does a sponsor make it reflective of state-specific language? An attestation statement is also required on both paper and electronic applications. The attestation statement must be included directly above the signature block for the signing adult to certify. The person signing is providing true information. The application is being made in connection with the receipt of federal funds. That school officials may verify the information on the application, and deliberate misrepresentation of the information may subject the applicant to prosecution under state and federal statutes. Questions to ask your software vendor about the attestation statement could include: does the online application include the attestation statement? What is the exact language of the attestation statement used within the system? And does the attestation statement meet federal requirements? As with a paper application, the online application must provide a space to identify the case number of any household member who receives benefits from an assistance program. Assistance program language must match the state program language. So that is what we talked about a couple slides ago. So instead of SNAP, it needs to reflect food assistance or FA, and then also temporary assistance for families, which is the abbreviation of TAF. So a question that you could ask your software vendor would be: how do you as the sponsor make the case number field reflect the state-specific information? The online application must also provide a space to indicate status in the other source categorical eligibility programs, such as migrant, homeless, runaway, or foster programs. Paper applications must include a field for reporting the total number of members present in the household. A web-based application may accomplish this by requiring household confirmation of a total computed by the application. This is an accountability safeguard and encourages the household to report all members who are present. Electronic applications may be exempt from explicitly following this requirement if they otherwise ensure the household has been given a clear opportunity to report all household members. It looks like we have a question about, can we just use the application provided by KSDE? I think you're probably talking about our Excel application that we provide to help you determine benefits. You can certainly use that to double check online applications that have been submitted or paper applications, but we don't allow you to publish that to be used for an online application. So hopefully that answered that question. If not, maybe when we open the phone lines and unmute everybody, you can provide further clarification if the question was intended to be something different. Okay, questions to ask your software vendors about the total household member reporting field would be how the system handles the total household members reporting field. Is it by manual entry that the household has to enter the total in their household, or does the system automatically calculate that number and have the household certify the number that the system has calculated? All applications, both paper and electronic, must survey the children's race and ethnicity. Although answering these questions is optional, they must be included on all forms of the application. Be sure to ask software vendors about when and how households surveyed about race and ethnicity. So a question for your vendor would be, when in the application process are they surveyed about the ethnicity and race of the children? A great feature of online applications is the ability to omit questions that do not pertain to the household's application. This makes the application process easier and faster for many families. However, sponsors must be aware of which fields are required and which fields are not. For example, only households applying on the basis of income are required to provide the last 4 digits of an adult household member's Social Security number, or indicate that they do not have a Social Security number. Households that apply based on a categorical eligibility status only cannot be required to provide this information. Sponsors should test various scenarios within their system to make sure households are not being required to fill out more information than necessary, dependent upon the application type. So we would encourage you to run multiple types of applications through your online application software so that you can ensure that it's functioning properly and not requiring more information than it needs to. With regards to additional fields, some systems to help with the matching households and families within the student information system, they may ask for a student identification number or a child's birth date. However, the household must be informed that these data fields are not required by the National School Lunch Program, School Breakfast Program, or School Special Milk Program. Since it is not a required field for a child's certification of eligibility, the applicant must still be able to advance through and submit the application without submitting information in those fields. So on page 82 of the eligibility manual, they have this commonly asked question: may a web-based application system ask for a student identification number or student birth date? And they provide you the answer of a web-based application system may ask for a student's identification number or student birth date if the sponsor notifies households that the 2 data fields are not required by the lunch, breakfast, or special milk program. The sponsor also must ensure a paper-based application is available to households that do not wish to provide the additional information. This notification should be included on the web-based portal. The disclaimer should indicate the availability of a paper-based application and provide a contact number for further assistance. As we have mentioned before, sponsors are responsible for testing their systems to ensure that households are not being required to answer additional questions or complete fields that are not required by USDA. Common fields that this would include would be the birth date of the child, the school of attendance, or the grade level of the child. In the letter to the household, applicants are notified that leaving an income field blank is an intentional signal of zero income. Page 79 of the eligibility manual recommends that incomplete responses to an income field or any other required field prevent the application from progressing or making a submission. In these cases, it is also recommended to include an error or warning message to indicate what information is missing and, if possible, direct the applicant to fields where that information must be submitted. Sponsors should test how the system processes applications with missing information. Required fields should not be able to be left blank, and non-required fields can never be required. Different types of applications have different required fields. Sponsors, again, must understand the different requirements and test the computer system for various scenarios. Another commonly asked question, and this is from page 21 of the eligibility manual, is may schools include income eligibility guidelines for free school meals in addition to including the reduced price income eligibility guidelines when sending out the application and descriptive materials? The answer would be no. The application and any descriptive materials distributed to the household may only contain the income levels for reduced price school meal eligibility. This requirement is statutory. Sponsors could ask software vendors about when and where program applicants are able to view the income eligibility guidelines for the online application. Sponsors should also review the income eligibility guidelines as they appear to households and ensure that they match the reduced price guidelines for the upcoming program year. Notification of approved applications. Households must be notified either in writing or verbally of their child's eligibility status within 10 operating days of receiving the application. Sponsors are permitted to communicate the written notification via email to the adult household member who signed the application. The eligibility manual states that if a computer system is used, the system can be used to capture the original date of approval, benefit level of each child, and the basis for determination. The system may also be used to update the status of applications to account for transfers, withdrawals, terminations, and other changes. A notation, such as the date and initials, should be made to an electronic file. Notifying households of denied applications. Federal regulation states that if a household provides an incomplete application or does not meet the eligibility criteria for free or reduced price benefits, the application must be denied. The sponsor must document and retain the denied applications and reasons for ineligibility for 3 years. The notification may be provided by mail or email to the adult household member who signed the application. Posting the denial of the notification page of an online system does not meet this requirement. So if they would submit an online application and be denied, you would still have to notify them via mail or email. And I believe they need to retain their denied applications and documentation. That should have been for 5 years instead of 3. Questions to ask your software vendors. How does the system notify households their application has been submitted? Does the system provide immediate approvals or denials to the households upon submission of an application? Sponsors are required to also take reasonable steps to ensure meaningful access for individuals with limited English proficiency. Failure to do so may result in the sponsor discriminating on the basis of national origin. Applications should contain a notice informing individuals with limited English proficiency or disabilities of how they can get assistance completing the form. So a question for your software vendor. would be, where is the notice for individuals with limited English proficiency? It is important to be sure that the application includes this information. Sponsors should walk through their own application and ensure that an LEP notification is provided to all households during the application process. Other requirements for online applications include having a letter to households to inform the household how to access the system in order to apply for benefits. The letter must also explain the household still has the option to submit a paper application from the school and must indicate how the household may obtain and submit a paper application from the school. The application must contain the information required of all applications. The system must include a question or data field to indicate a child's migrant, runaway, foster, or homeless status. It must provide households with instructional materials similar to those included with prototype applications, and it also must include the full USDA non-discrimination statement. Thorough testing of online systems can help sponsors ensure that their online applications meet federal requirements. It is important to understand how the required parts of the system work, both as the administrator of the software, but also as a household would experience it. Software vendors should be able to explain how the letter to households is generated and displayed in the system, and what to do if the information in the letter to the household needs to be changed. Sponsors need to know what data fields exist in the system and be able to determine if the appropriate fields are being required or if they're not being required. Sponsors are also responsible for ensuring the full USDA non-discrimination statement is displayed to the household during each online application process. And so these are some questions on your slide that could be asked of your software vendor to help you gain a better understanding of your online application. So moving on to what online applications may have. With online applications, the sponsor may, but keep in mind that you're not required to, pre-fill the application with data other than income data from the prior year or from another school source. This can be beneficial to households filling out information, but there can also be pitfalls. Questions to ask software vendors include what, if any, data is pre-filled from previous applications or from other data sources, and how is the data matched to the appropriate household's application. If an online application utilizes pre-filled data fields, caution must be used to ensure that it is only appropriate fields are populated. Income can never be pre-filled for a household. Since data matching can sometimes be tricky, it is important to allow systems to pre-fill data that have been thoroughly tested, especially if one system is importing data from another source. Consider how data might be pre-filled in a situation with students who are members of multiple households. It is also important to note. As with paper applications, online applications may not require a separate or multiple applications for each child in a mixed household that includes children who are other source categorically eligible and children who apply based on household income. It may not require a household to submit an application, and it may not request additional information to determine eligibility for other programs if the information requested creates a real or perceived barrier to participation in the child nutrition program. And it also may not request the applicants provide information regarding citizenship. Some online applications determine eligibility, while others are only used to collect application data, and then the sponsor manually determines the eligibility. The next section outlines what needs to be considered when using an application that determines eligibility for the sponsor. As a basic starting point, online applications must determine eligibility using the same method as required when determining eligibility based on a paper application. Since online applications are required to follow the same determination processes as manually processing an application, the same income conversion factors apply. So if you have a weekly income listed, it would be multiplied by 52. If you have biweekly income listed, it would be multiplied by 26, twice a month income by 24, and monthly income by 12. And you would only convert income sources if more than one income frequency is listed. The eligibility manual does state that sponsors cannot use conversion factors such as 4.33 to convert weekly income or 2.15 to convert biweekly income to monthly amounts. If the sponsor uses software for application or certification purposes, the software cannot use conversion factors and cannot automatically convert income unless there are different frequencies. So questions that you could ask your software vendors would be how the system converts income for applications with multiple income frequencies. It is important that sponsors communicate to software vendors the requirements for calculating income and understand how the system handles income conversions. The frequently asked question in the eligibility manual is if a sponsor uses a computer system to generate eligibility determinations, must the determining official sign or initial each application? The answer is the sponsor is ultimately responsible for determining eligibility for free or reduced price meals. The sponsor must ensure their computer system meets all requirements and performs all functions as outlined in this guidance with a high degree of accuracy. The determining official may sign or initial and date a separate sheet of paper that could then be attached to a batch of applications. Alternatively, the official may make a note to the electronic file. The computer system should be able to capture the original date of the approval and the basis for determination, such as that it was approved based on household size and income. And then you can update the status of applications to account for transfers, withdrawals, terminations, and any other changes. So now we will discuss administrative review implications. The eligibility manual clearly states that USDA and SNS do not currently evaluate, recommend, approve, or endorse any software used for certification or verification purposes. Sponsors are responsible for assuring that any automated certification and verification processes meet all regulatory requirements and policies, including the calculation of household income when multiple frequencies are reported. As a reminder, online applications are a part of the sponsor's certification and benefit issuance process. This means that applications collected online fall within a critical area of the administrative review and are a part of Performance Standard 1. From the Administrative Review Manual, the KSDE must ensure that the sponsor is in compliance with federal regulations. This law outlines the general requirements for applications, eligibility and certification of children for free and reduced price meals and milk. Errors found in this area of the administrative review can trigger fiscal action. So the final section of our webinar today will be to cover how to complete the online application review process with Child Nutrition and Wellness. The first step is to complete Form 7F, the request to use the online application for child nutrition program benefits. This form can be found in Chapter 7 of Food Service Facts on the www.kn-eat.org website. This form does require original signatures from the sponsor's Food Service Director, Director of Technology, and Legal Counsel. We will not be accepting any scanned copies of the form this year. Since we have to have original signatures anyways, it will be a lot less burdensome on us for us to only accept the original copy when it's received at the Topeka office. So please, once you get those forms with original signatures, go ahead and mail them to our Topeka office address, which is provided on the form as well as on the slide currently. By signing and submitting Form 7F, the sponsor acknowledges and certifies that the sponsor is responsible for assuring that certification, verification, and confidentiality processes meet all regulatory requirements and policies under the National School Lunch Program and the federal and state privacy laws. This includes the software used to perform all or part of the meal application, eligibility, certification, or verification process. In addition, the sponsor must assure the software used is performing correctly and meets all requirements. The second step will be email notifications sent from KSDE. So once the 7F form has been reviewed, an email notification will be sent to the authorized representative and contact person listed on the 7F form for each district. Notification will include the next steps in the process, the test scenarios, and the Program Year 19 online application sponsors checklist. The sponsor is responsible for then completing the sponsor online application checklist, which is part of Step 3. So you will complete the checklist and all of the test scenarios and then email the completed checklist back to Julie Henry. It's important to note that this process includes a more detailed testing process by the sponsor than it has in the previous years. Please make sure you are planning for adequate time to complete the checklist and the review of your online application. Also note that the review cannot be completed until all parts of the checklist are complete and the sponsor has certified the application meets all requirements. Step 4 is system demonstration. At random, KSDE Child Nutrition and Wellness will select sponsors to provide a demonstration of their system. This demonstration is to ensure that the sponsor fully understands the operations and functionality of its software, and that the sponsor meets the requirements outlined in the sponsor checklist. The sponsor must download or have access to Skype, which Skype is free to use online, in order to complete this step. The demonstration must be conducted solely by a representative from the sponsor, and software vendors may not provide a demonstration or assist with the demonstration on the sponsor's behalf. If you are randomly chosen, you will be notified and given more detailed instructions if you are selected to do a system demonstration. Once the online application review is complete, sponsors will receive an email of the review completion from Child Nutrition and Wellness. Your online application may then be posted for use on your public website, and each sponsor is responsible for guaranteeing the accuracy of any electronic application technology, including electronic signatures, and of its claim for reimbursement, as well as for ensuring that free and reduced price eligibility information remains confidential. So that completes the webinar. Thank you all for attending. If you have questions or concerns regarding the online application process, please contact anyone from our online application team. That is Lynette Osner, myself, Julie Henry. Rachel Juneman, or Sean Hoffman, or you can contact the Topeka office at 785-296-2276, and they will get you in touch with one of us from the online application team. And we look forward to helping you through this new review process this summer for online applications. I know we're very excited for this new process. And so I think at this point, we'll go ahead and start answering questions from the chat box, and then I will go ahead and unmute the line for those of you who may want to ask a question over the phone or through Skype. So let's see. Can the person from the sponsor be the tech department? From Shelly Gunderson. And Shelly, I think you're probably talking about the demonstration part, and I think that would be fine. Our only requirement is that it has to be somebody from the district or the sponsor that is demoing the application and understands the application when we're doing the demo part. It cannot be conducted by a staff member from your software vendor. And then Heather says the original deadline for application is June 1. What is the final deadline for completion of all the checklists and verifications? So there is no final deadline. It's just as we will move as quickly as you get the information to us. So if you're wanting to submit your 7F in the middle of July and not roll out with your online application until, mid-August, early September, that's completely fine by us. We will make that work. So we actually review online applications all school year long. So the sooner you get it in and get your system and everything done, the faster we can review it. But if you're kind of wanting to hold off and wait, that's perfectly fine too. So there's no cutoff deadline in order to get your online application up. When will Form 7F be available? It is currently available. It was posted in mid-March. It's in Chapter 7 of Food Service Facts on our website. Are the slides going to be posted? Yes, we will post them if you can't see them. And if you can't see them currently, please send us put your email in the chat box, I think. Where is the sponsor checklist? We will send that out to you once we have your 7F form and it has been reviewed. And then there's a question about, can we give a list of approved vendors? Nate, if you want to contact me, I can provide you a list of software companies that districts have used in the past. And we don't actually approve online applications. We just review as trying to be helpful to you to try to help get you through the process so that hopefully there are no errors. We look at this as a second set of eyes to help you protect yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute everybody. And if Cheryl or Kelly, if you want to chime in on any of those comments, feel free. So Skype should be unmuted now. And then I will unmute the conference call line. Okay, so if anybody wants to verbally ask questions, that's fine, and I think you should be able to do so now, I think. There's a question about how many districts actually use the online application process. Last year we were pushing 50, I believe. We might have been a few less or a few over that, but we have quite a few that are using online applications. Other questions? we will stick around for the next couple of minutes if anybody else has other questions. Otherwise, I think that concludes our webinar. Thank you all for attending today. I'll stay on the webinar for probably another 10 minutes or so. And then Kelly, how long should we keep the conference call on?
We can keep the chat open for another 10 or 15 minutes. That's fine, Lynette, if you'd like us to.
Do you think it's okay to shut the conference call line off?
Yes, I think we can shut the conference call line off.
Okay.
There's questions about who is approved, and I think it's really important, as Lynette says, there aren't any USDA or KSDE approved software vendors. You have to look at each online application in each school district because it can be put in place differently with different questions for each school district. But Lynette does have a list of ones that we have seen as we have done reviews in Kansas. And we are considering at KSDE writing a grant so that we might someday develop an online application that even smaller districts then could use and not have to procure. But that's probably several years down the road because we'll have to write the grant and then, of course, get that programmed. We will post the slides under what's new. That's a question that we got, and I will make note of that in the monthly update. We did try to record it, and if we can get it closed caption, we'll have it on YouTube so that you can listen as well, hopefully soon.
And Kay, you can do a 7S currently for school year 18-19. We're currently accepting those. And then Patty Gall, can you send us your email address and we'll get you the slides?
It's done. Lynette, Kelly had her address. She already sent it.
I'm taking care of all the folks that need the handouts, so we're good.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Do you have to have the signature of the district legal counsel?
It is recommended. If you want to contact me separately, we can discuss that. I'm not sure who this is talking. Sorry.
I'm sorry. This is Jill from USD 290. Did you want me to email you?
Yeah, or yeah, we can. I can give you a call. Let's see. It's 290. What?
Ottawa.
Ottawa.
We use the form that USDA recommends from the policy memo, and that is something that they have on that form, but Lynette can give you some ideas, I'm sure, if you're having trouble having a legal counsel review. But I would definitely recommend it because you're talking about thousands of dollars here with an incorrect eligibility. And so it's important your legal counsel stands behind what you do with your online application.
Okay.
Lynette?
Yes.
Hi, this is Mary Jo from Lewisburg. We have a question on the attestation statement.
Uh-huh.
On the application that we have now, is that considered the attestation statement above the signature? Do you know?
On your paper application?
On the paper application, yeah.
Uh-huh. Yep. So I like to tell people to compare your online application to what you see on your paper application. Because a lot of stuff that needs to be on your online application is on your paper application.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Lynette, since we don't seem to have any more questions, I think we'll go ahead and shut down. And thanks again for presenting today, and for Sean for recording, and everyone who took part in the webinar. Appreciate it a lot. Have a great rest of the afternoon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.